What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best lightning spear sorcerer build in Diablo 4 Season 9. This particular setup is a new build that became possible thanks to the reworked aspect of the splintering energy. This legendary aspect upgrades our lightning spear damage by up to 110%, which will be even further increased by our critical strike damage. In the late game, this equates to approximately a 60x DPS boost by getting tons of CDR from just having equipped 2 unique items. So obviously, with these types of buffs, we will be shredding anyone that comes in our way. So, if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM, they are a pro website that provides Diablo 4 services like cheap gold with fast delivery and pro carry runs, as well as unique and legendary items. They also have more than 17,000 comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KATE for extra 6% off. Let's start off with the skills, and we will be using the Ice Blades, Teleport, Flame Shield, Unstable Currents, Spark, and of course the Lightning Spear. And for our technique, we have the Ice Blade and Firebolt enchantment. Firebolt is not flashy but extremely useful by giving us access to the Devouring Blaze, Flame Feeder, and damage reduction from burning. And then the Ice Blade enchantment works very well with this build, since we are constantly spamming spells with cooldowns. This gives us couple extra blades, which means more CDR and more damage via the Conjuration Mastery. Overall, this build gets lightning spears in 2 ways. First, by casting the spell normally, and second, by proccing it with Unstable Currents. Both methods rely on cooldown reduction, so it is our #1 priority when we choose what we use. This setup is easy and effective, that excels at demolishing large groups of enemies, but we will have to get crit chance up to 100% and stack cooldown reduction until we physically can't stack no more. So then moving over to our skill tree, and this is what we have. And by the way guys, you can find the link to this full build and website guide in this video's description. For this setup to work, you will need to have a level 50 character and have finished the campaign, which is extremely easy to do in the current season. So then in the first section, we spend 2 points to unlock both abilities, the Firebolt and Spark, and then we spend 2 more points to enhance it. Spark skill is our main way of proccing the Unstable Currents. It has reasonably fast animation and gives us much needed critical strike chance. And we just put 1 point into the Firebolt, although we won't use it, just because to get his enhancement. Then we move over to the next section and spend few points to get the Potent Warding and unlock the Charge Bolt skill with 2 enhancements. Again, similar like the Firebolt, although we won't use the skill, we unlock it because of the Destructive Charge Bolt upgrade that helps us reduce incoming damage when we cast the Unstable Currents. Then we move over to the third section and spend a bunch of points for Flame Shield and Teleport. Flame Shield is our emergency defensive button, which we use when we are in danger or when we see a powerful attack is about to come our way. And of course, Teleport makes you unstoppable and is your primary source of mobility. As a bonus, it also procs Unstable Currents. Then the next part is where we spend most of our points to get, most importantly, the Conjuration Mastery and align the elements, as well as unlocking the Ice Blades and Lightning Spear skills. Ice Blades is here to give us cooldown reduction, Conjuration Mastery, and a stack of Tal Razah's Iridescent Loop. Of course, as this build name implies, the Lightning Spear is our main source of damage. Each cast will summon up to 3 Lightning Spears. So like everything else, we wanna spam it as soon as it comes off cooldown. Then after that, we go into one of the last sections to get the Devouring Blaze and Static Discharge. Static Discharge is needed to make the Overflowing Energy passive work, and also to activate the Charge Glyph or the Paragon board. Then in the next section, we unlock the Unstable Currents and spend few points to enhance it, and also get the Electrocution and Hoarfrost passives. Hoarfrost gives us extra damage after we temper the lucky hit, and Unstable Current is another way to generate the Lightning Spears. Unfortunately, it only produces a single spear each time it procs, but we can spam a lot of the shock spells, so then the total output of it becomes insane. And finally, for our key passive, we select the Overflowing Energy. Since all of our damage is coming from shock skills with cooldown, Overflowing Energy is the best key passive for damage despite not having a multiplier. Then next up, let's take a quick look at our gear. and I will show you two setups. The first gear loadout will be a quick 30-second showcase of what you can use immediately with zero grinding required, and then after that I will show you the full endgame setup. So upon finishing the leveling process and approaching the endgame grind, many of the aspects you use are already available to use from the Codex of Power. There's no reason that you shouldn't put them to immediate use, since they can be imprinted as often as needed as you upgrade your gear. So most of our gear will be yellow with few legendary pieces as well. So for chest, gloves, boots and weapon, you can use whatever best you got at this moment. But then for legendary farming pieces, we want to get the aspect of disobedience on the helmet, then aspect of might on pants, then aspect of control on amulet, and finally on both rings, the prodigy's aspect and recharging aspect. This early setup gives us a functional build to begin farming with. With this setup you can farm the legendary aspects you need for the next progression point, which is our insane endgame build. But then when you have a bit of grinding complete, so you get access to at least the hectic aspect and aspect of the orange herald, then now we can look into our fully completed endgame gear. So for the helm we equip the aspect of the orange herald, then for chest armor the aspect of concentration, for gloves the aspect of overwhelming current, for pants we have a unique item, the Tiboltes Will, for boots another unique item, the Essos Heirloom, and both of these pieces are vital for our build's crazy damage. Then for the weapon we have the aspect of shredding blades, and for offhand the Storm of Swell aspect, then for amulet the aspect of splintering energy. Then for our first ring we have our last important unique item, the Tal Rasha's iridescent loop, and for the second ring we have the conceited aspect. Then for gems, on the weapon we use the emerald for 25% critical strike damage, then for armor the ruby gem for 9% life, and finally for all three jewelry pieces we use the skull for more increased armor. Then next up let's go over to the Paragon board, and as there are 225 different choices that I made, so I won't explain each one's reasoning, but most importantly what you need to know is that this board is optimized to give us as high damage as possible while reducing our cooldowns. So on the starter board we follow this path and select the elementalist glyph, which will increase our damage by 5% for every element that we hit on the enemy. Then for the second board we have the burning instinct with the tactician glyph, which will increase our damage by 10% after we cast a defensive skill for 4 seconds. Then next up we have the enchantment master board with the reinforced glyph. This will give us 15% damage reduction while we have an active barrier. Then the frigid fate board with the charge glyph for 5 to 15% increased damage when we pick up a crackling energy. Then now we move to the right side for the fifth board called the ceaseless conduct with the destruction glyph for increased critical strike damage. This buff can stack up to 12%. Then we have the searing heat board with the exploit glyph for increased damage against vulnerable enemies. Then we go back a bit to the 7th board, which is the elemental summoner with the conjurant glyph for increased conjuring skill duration by 20%. And lastly we go back to the end for static surge board with the flame feeder glyph for 10% damage increase to burning enemies. And don't forget guys to rotate each board to the right place, so it would look exactly like this setup. And now finally we have come to the last and final part, which is the gameplay and our skill rotations. And as this build is very spammy, so the exact order that you use the spells is not as important as just spamming and stacking all of your damage on top of each other. Like you can see from the gameplay, I activate all of my skills as soon as they're off cooldown. So lightning spear is our main source of damage. Each cast summons up to 3 lightning spears. Then the unstable currents is another way to generate lightning spears. Unfortunately, it only produces a single spear each time it procs, but we can spam a lot of the shock spells. Then the spark is our main way of proccing unstable currents. It has reasonably fast animations and gives us much needed critical strike chance. Then ice blades is here to give us cooldown reduction. Then teleport makes you unstoppable, and this means that all of the control impairing effects get removed or prevented, so we can constantly keep moving and doing DPS. And this also procs unstable currents. And finally we have the flame shield, that because of our Paragon board, which gives us more damage right after we use a defensive spell, so no matter if we are taking damage or not, we wanna use the flame shield